All right, it is 9:52. So far, I've had two trades with SIRC, and I want to see if this thing can try to get to VWAP, or if maybe it wants to trade back and forth here and try to hold maybe this 45 level, let it be like a higher low off of this 44 bottom, and then it can be something that can make a move towards VWAP if it doesn't try to do it right now. I had two trades with SIRC, one in the morning, and then one was this panic. I was able to be a part of this panic, and a little nerve-wracking, I'll be honest, because it kind of reminds me of when I was trading, I think 1 or 2 years ago with NSAV, and I remember just, not knowing as much as I do right now and how scary that stock was on the downtrend. And this one is kind of giving me those same type of scary vibes where, it can do some really scary price action, but it has been profitable. At 931, I did buy 900 shares at 503. That was right here. I bought at 503. Why? Because it kind of opened around the same level as it's been doing the past few days, and it was like a bit of a support level in that, I had to open right here, I had to close here around this 48 level, and then, we opened around that level at 50, and just had a big red day here. So I thought maybe it could be like a morning spike. There could be short sellers covering their positions, and that could be something that can make a move towards the top. And that's why I did buy there again at 503 at 931. I did sell out of my position at 509. That was the next minute at yeah, this 509 levels here when I sold. So like the very top of this candle, and I was in at 503. The price action just seemed kind of off. It just felt like something wasn't right. And it did continue to get higher. It got as high as I believe the 517 level. Maybe the high was just this 515 level, but as you can see, it immediately started to turn around. And this is something that, I felt like it just felt like this uptrend wasn't as strong as it could have been, and it just felt like it was off. But it did make a move, above from where I bought. It just didn't really uptrend that much. And then we had this panic bounce play. I drew a trend line right here, following these candles, and then I did one for the bottom part. I like how it was, following this trend line, it was under it, and then it tried right here to get above it briefly, and then it came back right under very harshly. But then when it got to the point when it was right here, these two candles, it was now trying really hard to hold this 44 level. And then it was no longer where the trend line would still be. It would have to be in the 43s if it was going to continue to follow the downtrending trend line. It transitioned from following the trend line to getting past it a little and then trying to regain itself under the trend line as it was panicking, but it wasn't able to. Consolidation. That's why I bought 1,000 shares at 44 and a half. I could have been in at a better price. I could have been in at a lower level, but I did get in at least, and that was at 947. I got in right here at the top of this wick, pretty close to the top of the wick at 44 and a half. So right here is when I got in, and I try to be patient with it. This thing is above VWAP, which is nice. Just nerve-wracking, but I think with more experience, I can be able to trade this thing a lot better. I just always fear that when it comes to, a run up like this and the way it's trading, that it looks like it's trying to do something nice, and then we get like a big red candle and it starts to panic, and then it's hard to get out of a position. But I knew at least to try because the setup was there. And I did get out in pieces. I sold 300 shares at 45.39, and that was at 950. So 950 was right here, 45.39. I got out of a third of my position, roughly a third right here. And then I got out of 200 shares at 458 the next minute. I didn't mean to click right there at 951, 458 is when I got out of more, which was around right here. And then I did get out of my last piece when it broke under the trend line that I had right here, and I sold 500 shares, which stinks because it was my biggest amount that I sold at 452, which was right here at the lowest level, right before it started to, I guess, do a transition candle right here from this range to now 46 being the bottom and making a move towards VWAP, which is pretty cool. I'd be selling if I still had any shares. I would be totally out of my position because this is above VWAP. A lot of sellers at the ask. Maybe it can do like a downtrend and then a higher low. and then that can be something that can regain itself above VWAP and uptrend more. But for this setup, I would be out of this completely if I still had any shares. So I'm happy that I still had half of my position by the time this thing broke the trend line, because if I was able to have I guess more patience or confidence or more experience trading these, I would try to hold when it breaks under the trend line for the first time, so it can ideally make like a higher low. Maybe it could have broken this trend line and it could have traded back and forth, holding 45 above the 44s, and then it makes a move above VWAP, and then I'd be selling into this price action. But I didn't have that ability. I sold when it broke under the trend line. But ideally, if I were to have this trade again, I would trade better, and that would allow me to be more profitable, because I did have again half of my position still available to sell on the uptrend. So yeah, those are two trades right now. This one's down a lot. I haven't been looking at it. It trades weird. It has a spread. If it does something super clean, maybe I might be interested in it. Otherwise, I'll probably leave it alone. This one, I don't like the daily chart, so I'll probably remove it. I don't think I'm going to trade this one. CYDY hasn't done anything. Those trend lines were from another day, and nothing with EMGE. I'm also looking at this one, Roblox. This one's interesting because it's just down so much, but I don't see anything that I'm necessarily interested in trading. Maybe you can say that it's going to downtrade and hold this level right here, but it's kind of like a, setup with not much going for it, just other than the fact that it might hold this level. It's not something necessarily clean. I'll continue to look for more setups, and I'll make an update later. Alright, it is 10:08. I had another trade, but I got out of this one quickly. This one, I just didn't feel that good about it. I could also just be a chicken as well, but from my experience trading these things, the morning panic bounce play, the lower low, the double bottom, doesn't really work as well as the initial one, and the higher low seems to work the best. This one is trading between 44, which is about the bottom right here, and 45, which has been the top, and it can totally try to make a move towards VWAP again. It just seems a bit iffy, but it can totally do it. It does have a wide spread, which I don't like, but I did buy 1,000 shares at 44.38, and that was at 10:06. So right here, 44.38 is when I got in. Right around here is when I got in, and I did sell 300 shares at 45 on the uptrend when it was 10:07, and that was right here near the top, not including the wick. And then it just felt kind of uneasy, and the trend line isn't as aggressive as it was in this one, for example, right here. And if I were to have drawn a trend line from here to here, it's already broken it, of course. So I want to see what it can do later. I don't like how it trades with a spread, because sometimes when a stock trades with a spread, that means it's desperately trying to get it to uptrend and not allow people to jump in at the ask, make it super close to the bid, but instead to try to make distance so that they can be able to ideally break out a certain level and then make it uptrend artificially, or at least not as nicely as, something that uptrends with a very tight bid and ask. I did sell 700 shares for just barely what I bought for at 444 at 10:07 right here. Right around right here is when I sold the rest of my shares. So I am going to be slightly profitable on this trade, but this was essentially a scratch. It just felt weird. But I do like this now that it had these two wicks below 44. We had the attempted uptrend, and it wasn't able to do it. But now if it's able to hold 44 and not have any wicks below it, that could be like a little baby higher low. And then that could uptrend, and it could break past this 45 level, and then it could eventually get to the 46s. I do have an issue in that I'm noticing that I might actually run out of settled cash again. So I'll try to be, I don't know, perhaps less, I guess, less interested in trading the setup unless it looks super nice. But this could try to turn around as long as it doesn't have any wicks below 44. If it gets under 44, that wouldn't look too nice. And at that point, maybe I'll be watching this for like an 11 a.m. reversal setup. This is pretty much the only thing I'm looking at. I don't see anything else that I necessarily want to trade, although I guess this one did get to VWAP at least. At least it looks like it on the other screen. This isn't horrible in that, it broke a round number of $2, a whole bunch of volume, and then you can pretty much draw a trend line here, and it made a nice move. This was like a 10% move. And now this can ideally at some point, maybe even here or downtrend some more, be a higher low off of the $2 level or this level at least, and then that could continue to reverse if it wants to. I don't know why it's down so much today, but I'll keep looking at SIRC and I'll make an update later. Okay, it is 10:35. I do want to know that I did try to buy, going over what I was saying, that it had wicks here, it had a little uptrend, came back, it didn't really have these wicks again. That could be a sign that it could turn around. I did try to buy just 500 shares, which is half of what I would be wanting to trade, just so that I don't run out of settled cash at 10:14. And that was at 444, which was right between the middle because it was trading back and forth with a bit of a spread. I never got filled. I think I let the order sit for like 2 minutes. I never got filled. And it did do the uptrend of VWAP. It didn't do it nicely. I mean, even if I was in the setup, I might have actually have not have been able to have been that profitable because of how ugly it was trading. But I mean, this is just going over what I was talking about, that when it trades with a spread, it's kind of fake. It's not, as authentic and strong as something that trades with a tight bid and ask towards VWAP. And it kind of makes sense that, they tried so hard to make it get it to VWAP, the price action here, and it wasn't able to. And it started to downtrend. It broke the level. And I don't necessarily want to trade this unless we see something crazy with big volume. I might just sit around and just wait for it to maybe try to do like an 11 a.m. reversal, with a move ideally towards VWAP. I don't think I want to just trade something like this where I can say, oh, this thing broke the low and now it's going to have a panic here. Because it's not like in the morning. It's not the same as the morning. Because the morning can be stop losses. It can be people who bought here and now they're selling. It could be people selling because they had a first red day. And then the bounce can be short sellers getting out of their positions. It could be, no more selling price action from the people placing orders the other day. And now it's going to, ideally turn around. Like this is now something else. It's not the same. It could still turn around. I'm not saying it won't, but, I don't have that much settled cash again. So I'm going to probably just try to, wait for something that looks really ideal, even if it means I miss out on setups. I'll make an update later, but I do want to note that, it did try to get to VWAP. It just did it all ugly with a spread, so it does make sense that eventually it downtrended some more because it wasn't able to, go towards the upside because, again, they were trying so hard with a wide spread, they weren't able to. Okay, it is 4:04 p.m. and I'm here to call it off. Overall, I'm going to be up on a day $26.32, and that was trading. Yeah, it was just SIRC the whole time. I didn't trade anything else. And I think I did pretty good. I could have done much better. I think the last time I recorded was when it was having this channel right here and I just didn't want to be a part of it. And it makes sense because it didn't really do much. I mean, the bottom you could have bought maybe ideally at 41. It got as high as 43. And that is with a wide spread. And it was all choppy, ugly. So I don't mind that I missed out on this. But I did trade it one more time, and that was because it was doing a turnaround. I got in for the 11 a.m. reversal at 11:45. I did buy. Actually, no, that's totally the wrong time. Right here at 11:23, I bought 1,000 shares at 3.99. That was right here, like a G. I bought at 3.99 because it was around that 11 a.m. time period. It did downtrend just a little more. I like how it broke the level here, but it didn't go that much more. So it showed that maybe there was a lot of people that were going to support it. And then I did buy when it was looking like it was going to potentially be the bottom right here, and it could ideally get to VWAP. And it actually got to VWAP, as you can see here, and it got above it. I try to be super patient with it. I sold 200 shares at 11.31. Not extremely sure if it was going to work out or not, but I did sell some piece when it started the trade in this range. And again, my entry was back at 1123. So I got in right here, and then we started to transition into this range where the ceiling was this 409 level, and it was a pretty big ceiling. I sold 200 shares at 1131 at 405, which was the bottom of this range, and then I sold another 300 shares at 405 at 1134, and then at that point I had half of my position left, and I really wanted to hold in case that it could get to VWAP, and then I could be able to sell a lot better. That's the thing I've been trying to get better at. It makes a bottom. I'm getting in when it's breaking out of that range. It makes a new range. Ideally, it holds a higher low off of this level. Although this isn't really much of a higher low because it didn't actually like dip and do some curving action. It just started to trade at a higher range. And then I wanted to hold for an even higher move towards the top, and it did do that. But it never got to VWAP here. I did sell as it started the uptrend more, 200 shares at 407.6, and that was at 1140, right when it was starting to transition, because I didn't like how long it was taking, how long it was in this range, but it did uptrend ultimately. And then I sold 100 shares at 415, 1145. So right here I sold at 415, and then I sold the last piece at 418, and that was at 1151 right here at 418 is when I sold my last piece right here. And I didn't like how it tried to make a move above the 42 level, and then it didn't, continue. It kind of shut off, and then it tried again. And then at this point I was done. I wasn't looking at this anymore, and of course it had one more dip, and then this is the one that made the move so quickly. This took a long time, right? From 30, I guess 40, because that would be where an entry could be. A 40, move the 42, and then right here, a 41 move to VWAP. This was a lot better. I was not a part of this, and I totally would have bought here, not because hindsight is 2020, but this is an inverse head and shoulder, shoulder, head, shoulder, 11 a.m. reversal. This is something I've seen plenty of times before. In fact, let me try to find an example just to go over that idea. 11 a.m. Let's see if I can find one with inverse head and shoulders. I guess this is one example. This stock was down a bunch too. Started the downtrend, 11 a.m. right here. It went a bit lower. Shoulder, head, and then the shoulder. Inverse head and shoulders. And this one didn't get to VWAP, but this one did. Shoulder, head, shoulder. Got to VWAP. And if I were to have been able to hold, which I don't think I would have done, maybe I would have bought later when it actually breaks past VWAP and starts trading above it and not getting back under it. It did go from 43 to 46, which isn't that nice. It's not much range. That's pretty much about it. I didn't trade anything else. I wasn't looking at anything else, although SING was pretty impressive. I will close it off right here. Pretty good day, although I could have been a lot more profitable, and I did give up on shorting SIRC, and it's been pretty nice after it had the first red day right here for a short setup. Very nice move towards the bottom. Just as nice as some of the long setups here. That's it for today.